I love that voice. Ophir sounds slightly different when he recorded that. All right. So we have, all right. So people responded that they could hear and see us, but no one has a question yet.
Yeah, let's just launch a little demo and people can ask questions as they go.
Right. Absolutely. So I think there are a couple of critical areas within TradeMachine that new or slightly new users should be aware of and focus on. One is the community, which I've already mentioned. Um, you'll see that right here as a choice. We won't get into that now. Well, I guess I can leave this up and just go over here. This is the TradeMachine community room. Jason, can you see it? Or are you still seeing my?
I can, yeah.
Okay. I'm assuming everyone can see this. Um, so this is free form. Everybody has an ID. Um, and you can use your name, or in my case, I'm using Chat Uncle Pops. And you can ask questions, or as we scroll down, you'll see some people are posting charts and asking a question about whether there's a good trade out there that because they see potential in the chart. And you can post alerts. In this case, it's GIS, 14-day pre-earnings, long call diagonal, which is using the AI technical indicator that Ophir has come up with that I think is really going to revolutionize how trading going forward. And anyone can ask a question. We want people to be respectful of everyone else. And other than that, everything else is free to ask and will be answered by at least one person eventually, and probably by a couple of people pretty quickly. All right. All right. So we do have some questions. So I apologize for that. Either that or they just came in. All right. So the first question is how to manage the losing trade if it is going against you. For example, a long call, what are the options to manage instead of closing? All right. So some of the strategies that TradeMachine uses, number one, will have a limit for your profits, let's say 50% of the risk or the amount of money that you paid for the option. Or they'll have a loss limit, what they call a stop. So for example, as I check my notes, so I say this correctly, the buy the dip has a 50% limit. The buy the dip strategy has a 50% limit and a 50% stop. If you bought something for $1 and it's now trading $1.50, that's your 50% profit according to TradeMachine backtest time to close. If you bought something for $1 and it's trading 50 cents, it's time to close and take your loss. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you want to go and just go on your own because you think it's going to turn around, I mean, you can do what you think is best. What I would suggest is either rolling up. If you're long a call and the market's going against you, I'm sorry, then you would roll the call down, but then you're risking more money. You could also, if you're long a call, roll it out in time so that you will have more time to be right. But once again, you're probably going to pay an additional debit in order to do that. So you're increasing your risk on the trade. All right. So rolling is the answer, or you can ride it to expiration, I guess is the other choice. I don't necessarily recommend either one. What I would do is close the losing trade, follow the guideline of the back test, close it, and then if you're still bullish on that stock, open up a new trade, try and back test it, given its current conditions, and start anew. Those are the choices that you would have. All right, next, Jeff is asking if we go through a few examples using the scanner, that would be appreciated. By scanner, are we talking about the alerts that are generated on the Today page, or are you talking about something else? So, Jeff, let me know and I'll answer that question. All right.
Oh, I would imagine he's referring to the pro scan.
Okay. Scan. Okay. So let's rather than using ProScan, why don't we go into backtest? We can get to the same result, and I actually like the backtest better. If I'm not answering the question in sufficient detail, I'm sure you'll let me know. Let's see here. So, all right, let's go even better. Here's what I did today. This will be good. It was something I was planning to do at the end, but we'll do it now. So the Today page shows all the generated active alerts that are coming from TradeMachine for today. Not only is it today, but it goes back, it includes displaying yesterday's alerts and those from 2 days ago. And it's like today's alerts will become yesterday's alerts tomorrow, and the ones that were yesterday will become 2 days ago, and what was 2 days ago will scroll off the screen. And a great thing that Jason has implemented is every column can be sorted. So all the today alerts will be together if you're only interested in looking at what alerts have been generated by the machine today. You could also, you could sort by number of wins, you could sort by ticker, or most importantly, I guess, is the total return. Really cool. So I like to do it by keeping all the 2 days ago alerts together and the yesterdays together and today together. What I did today, which was a very straightforward, simple trade, was buy the dip. So that this will also help the person who was interested in if I bought a call and it's losing money, but I don't want to close it, even if the instruction from the back test says to close it. So I did this target trade. Right. So just so everyone is a little familiar with what the back test tab looks like, here's the name of the stock. The results box here tells you its target. We bought the 40 Delta call, and it is the start and end date is, it's a 3-year back test, goes back 3 years. And Let me move my picture down out of the way. It's using options that are 30 days to expiration. You see that in two places, up here on the right and down here. The total return over the 3 years, 1,795. The percent return, 63.8. The amount risk, the commission. The win percentage is about as low as I will go, 66.7%, 2 out of 3 wins. And then below here, you see the opening technical conditions. The stock has to be back above the 200-day simple moving average. And this is the TradeMachine generated simple moving average for 200 days. Yesterday, it was below the 200-day moving average. And also, the stock has to be above the 10-day EMA. And the RSI has to be below 70, RSI 20. Some alerts have an RSI 14 instead of the RSI 20. All right, so this strategy is called buy the dip. You see that it's activated when the stock crosses back above the 200 SMA. So you might want to scan for other stocks and see if there are other good alerts that will work for buy the dip. So TradeMachine has implemented and provided a whole bunch of portfolios that you can use, or you can build your own. So they've provided these portfolios, everything that starts with an underscore. And then I have, on my own, created a 46 stock portfolio. It's just different stocks that I'm interested in that I think are pretty liquid. And I use that as a testing portfolio for different strategies. But for buy the dip, we're scanning 100 NASDAQ stocks to find which ones perform well with the buy the dip strategy. And it's 100 stocks, so it's going to take a few seconds. I'm a platinum user, so it happens pretty fast. And I can have portfolios up to 200 entries. I guess I could have picked a smaller portfolio in order to demonstrate this. So I apologize for that, but I'm sure we're almost done. So the strategy we are looking for good candidates is buy the dip. You can do this with any strategy. And the strategies, while we're waiting for this to finish, the strategies are under save backtests. So if you click on that, it'll say select a strategy. And the strategy choices are a whole bunch of canned choices. And then in addition, you can do what I did and get all the strategies off of the Today tab. So let's close this. All right. When you see the total row across here, that means that it's looked at all 100 entries. Now we want to see what the good candidates are. One of the things I like to do is look at the average trade percentage, the average trade when, how much, what percent of of the amount of money that I risked is it returning to me? So each of these columns is sortable as well. So we'll start with the highest ones. So LCID has an average trade percent of 140.3, 140%. I'm probably wanting to save that one. There were 2 wins, 0 losses over the 3 years. There's your start date. There's your end date. And I would scroll down. I'm not going to take VRTX because I personally happen to know that the bid and offer are not reasonably tight. It is not a very liquid stock, but just based on the numbers, I would take it, but I'm not going to because I've experienced it before. I would definitely do FANG, CMCSA. I don't particularly like I mean, it's 1-in-1, so I'm probably going to skip that. IDXX, 60% win rate, 74%. I might throw that in there and look at the back test when it comes up as an active alert. Definitely want to do Adobe. Average trade percent at 71.7, but 5-0 over the 3 years. That's excellent. And so on and so on. But that's how I do my scanning. I don't go to Pro Scanner. Now with these great capabilities all built in to the backtest tab, I can do my scanning right here, and I can create any portfolio that I want, and run it against any strategy that I want, or I can build a custom strategy. So let me go back to the questions. Platform have you found has been the best for your trading options? Okay, I don't know if I'm seeing the question. Okay. What platform have you found the best for your trading options and why? All right. I'm not here to promote any of the trading platforms, but most people know that I'm a big proponent of the Tasty Trade platform. Those are the same people, Tom Sosnoff, Scott Sheridan, Tony Batista, and all the same technical people who built TOS, which I used to use. Then I went to Interactive Brokers, and then I came to Tasty Trade, and I've been there since, I don't know, 2017, 2018. It works the best for me. That's the end of the trading platform commercial. And it's really fast. All right. Are there any filter in TM to know the liquidity of the option? Strictly speaking, no. You have to look when you see an alert for a stock, you have to go into the option chains, and look at, in my case, I like to look at the bid ask for the at the money, the 25 delta and the 75 delta options, both on the calls and the puts, and make sure that they're reasonably tight. If they're not, I usually just move on to the next trade.
Let me, this is actually a hidden feature, so it's great for everyone. We actually for the Today tab, for the extreme low liquidity that actually interferes with placing a trade because the bid asks get messed up when in two different strikes, or you can't find enough strikes and deltas, there actually is a filter that's applied beforehand on a lot of these things. So if you do a back test on a really illiquid stock, oftentimes you'll see a warning at the bottom saying that the market was very wide. This isn't based on open interest or that kind of thing, which can be a little bit deceiving. But you will see a liquidity warning on the back test if it hits one. And so there's not a flag on this screen, though that's probably, that could be something that we'd look at adding in the future for sure. But there's a little filtering on the Today tab, and when you do a back test, it'll give you a warning if you if there's some liquidity issues. But anything that goes to the Today tab didn't have extreme liquidity issues, didn't have super wide, like 10 cents at $2 or anything like that.
Right.
Just thought I'd jump in because that's not something that's well known.
Right. I appreciate that. I just wanted to highlight that when you're on the Today tab, there is some limited filtering going on, because what you're seeing by default is all tickers if you look at the top left. But you can specify, at a minimum, what I do is I only want to see the largest 500 companies. At least that's where I start. So it'll regenerate the today page, but you'll notice fewer entries. All right. So that's where I start, and then I'll look for today's alerts and see if it meets my needs. Am I looking to do a trade that is going to make me a little longer volatility? Am I looking for a trade that sells volatility because I think the overall environment is too high vol? Do I want to be long delta? Do I want to be short delta? I like to start with the 500 largest companies and see what's available that were an alert hit today. You can also go down and just look at the NASDAQ 100. All right. Today we had our good friend VRTX, which I personally don't like to trade, but it's there as the only one in the NASDAQ 100. We can look at the Dow 30 to see if there are any trades there. I don't know if Target's in the CVX is there. And that's it. So you see how it cuts down on the possible choices. Now we'll go back to all tickers. And under the all tickers one is where you have the largest possibility of finding an illiquid stock or a stock that the bid ask at the certain day that you're looking is just too wide for your comfort. And then you'll just move on to the next one, to the next potential alert that you want to trade. So that there is some kind of filtering that's going on. Back to the back test for 1 second and the scan. Oh, it's going to do it again. All right. Let's just do this because I just want to make one last point. I'm just going to switch to the Dow 30, so it'll be quicker. And what I want to highlight is when this finishes scanning, there'll be a box over on the left that I was checking as to the ones that I liked. And then you can do a bulk alert, what I call you can do a multiple stock alert all in one step. All right. So let's just look at average trade from high to low. And let's take JPM. And I'm going to skip 3M. Amgen. That's 62%. We'll throw that in there. And Travelers looks good. 35% average winning trade percentage profit. And let's throw PG in there. All right. I have 4 alerts. There are other possibilities, but I'll just go with those 4. Up here in the upper right, you can say add alert. Click on that, and it'll take you to the alerts tab. And there are the 4 alerts that you identified in your scanning for buy the dip of the Dow 30. And most importantly, as I mentioned yesterday, what I like to do is have detailed notes. So instead of TradeMachine link, I like to say what the strategy is. So it's a buy the dip. And, if there's some other significant characteristics, like it's using 30-day options and it's the 40 delta call, I might throw that into the note as well. And then all you need to do is hit add alert. This button right here. And you now have 4 alerts in your alert database. And I think that's a really cool thing. And now every day, those alerts will be tested. And if they become active, you will receive an email. If you put your email address, you'll get a text message if you put your phone in there. And it's really cool. All right. So let's go back to the Today tab, and let me keep going down the questions. I do ramble. I apologize up front. Okay, platform is any filter for liquidity. We answered that. When a trade triggers, I notice the alert is not noted as a trade that TM entered. Should the trade not be placed, or was it a rear trigger? I mean, the day of the trade, it's not going to be in the back test. But after that, I would think it should be. If I'm
Yeah,
understanding your question correctly.
there's an interesting point here. So I might just jump in occasionally where there's kind of a strange nuance. It's really helpful for me to see how Max uses the tool as well. Just to see someone who's using it every day for trading is always great to see. So two things can happen with alerts. One is it can trigger intraday and then stop. So for instance, something crosses over a 200-day moving average and then drops back down. You could easily get a trigger intraday, but not have that still be true. Another thing is oftentimes these links are showing you the back test that was used to verify that it's a good quality back test. So for instance, with that robot, it's saying that, over the last, 2 or 3 years, depending, it won 4 times, lost 2 times, and these are the characteristics. It's saying that as of today, live, using data from today, because we do pull in the live stock price to see if it triggered or not, all of the technical conditions and the earnings and anything else is true. So this is ready to trade as of when that triggered. But as Max alluded to, the back test is looking more historically. There is one kind of workaround to do it, because we do have intraday stock data that we add onto a back test. So Max, if you humor me and just click any one of those, this is kind of a little nuance of the tool. So if you just click any of the share links.
Okay, I will. One sec. May as well go back to target.
Right. Now, this one actually has historical data up through today, but if you click stock for the actual type of strategy in the top left, this can sometimes show you if it actually triggered intraday because the stock data is live. So this is more of a nuanced thing, but if you scroll down into the chart, sometimes you can see a trigger that happened on this day. So you see that little green arrow on the very far right.
Yeah.
So that's a little nuanced workaround. The next thing that we're going to be doing in the tool is actually adding intraday options data as well. So that will actually show you the strike and the expiry and the delta. So you don't have to go into an option montage to figure out what to trade. We'll say, hey, if you want to do this diagonal, use this expiration, use this strike, etc. That was it. I just might jump in occasionally. Thanks, Max.
Okay, cool. Let me load up the questions again. Let's see. Okay, we have a hello from John Zelko. Nice to see you, John, or see your name. We got to thank you for answering the question. And Jeff was referring to the Pro Scan, as Jason mentioned. I hope Jeff likes what I did scanning through the backtest tab. I think it's the same. It's the same action, but I like to do it in the backtest. Like it was traded and used as a future backtest. Use SLB. All right. So Robert is saying uses a future backtest. Use SLB as an example. So SLB, sell the 40 delta, buy the 30. All right. So we're doing a fade to dip. And let's see here. So we'll do, let's see if fade to dip is here, or otherwise I'll go back to the tape. Fade to dip. We won't do it with, we'll do it with the AI. No, well, we won't do it with the AI because he didn't specify that. All right. So, and you want to do it with SLB, I believe. All right, so I have to, oh, I have to put a comma in. Here's another little nuance. If you put the comma in, you only get one results box. And I'll show you what, if you don't have the comma, I'll show you where that is in a second. If you don't have the comma in, come on. Come on. Be a pal. All right. If you don't have it, you're going to get 5 boxes. Now, because this is a spread trade, it needs. I'm sorry, I did that. I clicked on the explanation. Let's see if I can get back to it. Okay, cool. It's my first day with my new hands, as someone else has said. All right. So this is a spread trade where we're selling the first option, buying the second option. And this is really the box that we're going to focus on. But I
And
want you
Max, could
to,
you? Yeah, thanks. Great.
yeah, that's where I was heading. The second the second symbol all the way top right um, gives you some details of backtest settings that you can use. You can enter number of contracts. You can decide what kind of execution fill you want. We usually use the mid. You can enter your trading fees if you want, but then it's the strategy deltas that I wanted to highlight. And as long as this is checked, use my own deltas. The third column is what's used for the single entry if you have a comma after the name of the stock and it's a single stock. Or if there's no comma, it's going to do all 5 columns of test if it's a spread. So what I do is I make this a 60-40. I make this a 50-30, just in case I'm doing spreads, but it's not the default. We'll do 30-20 and we'll do 20-10. And then I save that and it'll redo the back test. And you'll see now, instead of 60-60, you'll see 60-40, 50-30, 40-30, 30-20, and 20-10. So if you're doing spreads, you can set the delta for each component, and you can look at 5 variations on your back test if you want to. I wasn't necessarily going to go there today, but we're here. So let me put the comma back, and then we can see. So this one was about the best anyway. Let's see the time frame. I gotta keep moving this out of the way. The time frame is 3-year back test. 30 DTE options. We're selling the 40 delta put. We're buying the 30 delta put. It's got a win-loss record of 7-0. This is a great trade. I'm pretty sure I already have an alert for it. These are the technical open conditions. I think what the gentleman wants us to look at is the chart, and the last column on the chart. Whoops. Okay, that says 13 October. So is this just a bad chart, Jason, or am I?
Can you scroll up to the top where the end date is and see?
Oh,
Yeah, I think we loaded a
10/16.
historical
Oh, my bad, my
trade. No,
bad.
it's
So
all good.
look, yeah, let
Yeah,
me do it again. Let me do it. It'll take
it's
a
a
second.
powerful tool, but it's a little bit of like being in a
Yeah,
cockpit
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's obvious. I should have realized that. I'm supposed to be smart. Okay, so now when we look at the chart, This has come up in community a couple of times. Um, well, it does have today's information on it right now, and I can't see the details. But I guess a whole bunch of numbers are below. My little layout for Zoom is covering that right now. So I can't see it, but I assume everybody else can. And there's the 6th, and there's the 7th. Some people were mentioning, Jason, in community um, yesterday, today, one or the other, and in the past, that sometimes today's December 7th, they're only able to see up to December 6th data.
Yeah, so many times, like from the Today tab, the share link will only go through the 6th. If you change the date at the top to the 7th, then or if you just click
Oh,
the 3 year, then it'll show up to the current date. We have a little bit of a balancing act because we show people the historical performance of a stock. So someone might save a link 3 months ago, but when they pull up that link, they want to see the same result. If it was 6-0, they want to see 6-0. We could make every time you have a share link that it ends at the current date, but now you might be 6-1 or 6-2, and then that
uh,
can throw people off sometimes. So right now, when you click a share link, it loads everything exactly how you had it, including the end date. So that it's a snapshot in time, every share link. If you want to see up to the current date, then yeah, if you click that end date, you can manually adjust it, or if you click any of the buttons on test length, it'll automatically adjust the end date to today. And then I'll show you one more trick, Max. If you scroll all the way down, there's actually a horizontal slider at the very bottom of all the charts. This is kind of hidden, but that little slide bar, if you drag it all the way from the very far left, that if you grab that little knob next to the 2020 and drag it
mhm.
all, far to the right, like
You
there,
know,
that's good. Nope, maybe not quite that
whoops.
far. Yep. And then just scroll up a little bit. That's essentially creates a zoom so you can like zoom in on a
Oh
certain part of the
God,
chart.
I can't tell you. I squint to see what's
Yeah,
going
I know
on
it. The
today. Well, now that I know that that's there, I'll definitely promote it in community starting tomorrow.
yeah, so
Because
that's a way you can kind of like zoom in there.
yeah,
And
that'll
then you
help a
can
lot
grab
of
the chart
people.
and pan left and right. Yeah, the charting package we use, you can't make that appear at the top of the chart. It's just a limitation. Eventually, we might have to write our own, but that's just one little. There's a couple little things to learn over time with this thing.
Right, right. Okay, let me. All right, let me go. I don't want to leave anybody else out. Can we see an example of the today alert and see from chart perspective whether the alert is valid or not and how to decide to take the alert or not? Okay. Um, Timing wise, I make my decision at about 3:30 in the afternoon. And in the case of buy the dip, um, the key technical open criteria is um, that it's crossed back above the 200 SMA moving average. Um, so what I do, instead of scrolling down and trying, not knowing that I can enlarge the last 2 days, is I look at um, you can look at the moving averages in a couple of different ways. But I guess it is in the legend of the chart for the day, so you can do that as well. And now that we can enlarge it so we can see the current day very easily, um, I believe, is that part of I can't see it because I'm blocked out by my Zoom
Yeah,
picture.
it's a little bit low on the screen right now. Good news is in the pretty soon what we're going to have is something at the top where it shows if the trade triggered on the day and it's still triggered on the day. We're just going to put a green active button
Oh,
because we know
cool.
this is challenging for everybody. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
going to include a few things like that to simplify some of this.
Yeah, that would be great because it does take a little time, especially towards the end of the day when you want to put the trade on to make sure that all the technical open criteria is still valid. So that'll be fantastic. Um, okay, someone is asking me, what do I consider reasonably tight bid ask? Well, the tightest ones that I see are the SPY, SPY, or Apple, but not everyone's going to be like that. So if it's $100 stock and the bid ask is 5 ticks wide, 60 to 60 bid at 65, that's tight enough for me. If it gets to be more than that on $100 stock, I get a little leery. But if I'm doing a spread, I'm a little less concerned, and I would go a little wider just because it's a spread. The market maker computers will naturally tighten that up. But if you're just doing an outright option, um, you're going to have a problem getting in, and you're going to have 5 times that problem getting out. That's why reasonably tight bid asks are key, so that you can get close to the results of the back test. All right. I hope I didn't skip anybody. So I'm going to skip doing an example because it's 7:48 and I want to make sure that we get to all the questions.
Something else you can do, which is kind of an interesting approach to that, is up in that little settings in the top right of the back test, you can see how your back test did if you got fills at the market. So if you scroll up to the very top, that little
Yeah,
settings thing for the deltas and stuff.
yeah. I guess you're not seeing the bid ask questions, huh? Because I have to move my screen, move things around the screen to get to the
Yeah, I have
visible
so many
part.
screens. I don't have
Yeah,
that problem.
yeah. Okay.
Um,
All
but
right.
one
I
thing you can do to
appreciate
kind
that.
of test how big of an impact the width has had historically is if you switch from that's mid-market,
Right.
there's a couple different choices there.
Right.
We think halfway between mid-market and market is like pretty realistic. We actually had from our community saying a lot of people feel they can get mid-market price. So the default is at, halfway between bid and ask.
Right.
But if you pick market price, if your trades go from, 6-1 at mid-market, and then you switch to market fills, and all of a sudden you're 3-3 and you're down 10% overall, then market width is a big issue in the stock.
Right. Right.
So that's just it's a little workaround to kind of get a sense of,
Yeah.
how important is width in execution in this particular stock. Obviously on any given day it can vary, but that's a little one way to do it.
Right. Right. I didn't know about that, and I'll use that in the future. But I do like going to my trading platform and looking at strike by strike, the strikes that are in consideration for a trade, like in the by the dip, selling this put spread. I'll be looking at anything close to the 40 delta and anything close to the 30 delta in the 30 days to expiration option chain. All right. Who traded these stocks showing in the back test results? Is TM placing these trades or someone else placing these trades? Well, TM has all the data and they're doing a back test. TM is doing the back test for each stock that's in my case, I had selected the NASDAQ 100 portfolio and then the Dow 30 portfolio. And applying the strategy of buy the dip. So it's looking at all the raw data for the last 3 years to come up with the wins and losses and percentage gain, and the amount you risked, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Someone else placed. So nobody is. TradeMachine is not placing the trades, and it's very intelligent information, probabilities that will put you in the best possible position to have a winning trade. If the probabilities are in your favor, you're ahead of the game. It's not a 50-50 shot. You want to be much better than a 50-50 shot to make money.
Yeah. So
See,
essentially the back tester, just like Max is saying, it's a simulator using real market data, because no human being, we do millions and millions of back tests, so there'd be no way to do that as human beings. But what this can do is say these are the real bid ask prices, this is the real volume, this is the real technical data. So it can simulate it, just the way they train a fighter pilot on a simulated F-16 before they put them up in the jet fighter, you can simulate extremely accurately the conditions for what the market was like when things triggered, etc. So you can get a very, very accurate historical, view of how this is performed historically. And then, like Max is saying, now you have some data to equip yourself. Like, hey, has this been doing well historically or not? Are the market conditions, have they changed a ton? And then make your decision from there.
Yeah, yeah. So we got some thank yous and some awesomes. And the last question that I see right here is, does the alert continue indefinitely? Yes, it's part of your alert database, but you can go in and delete any alert you no longer want. Let's see if I can, I guess I should have gone here and minimize that. And you're seeing the first page of my alerts. I think I have over 400. But the first column is delete. So all you have to do is click on that X, and that that row with that alert will disappear. I'm not going to do it, but that's all you need to do to delete an alert.
So Russell, that shows, Max just showed you how you can see the history of how that alert, if that alert triggered, it's always back there, so you can go view it. Is your question, you can just put another question in there. Is your question, once it triggers, can you just place the trade anytime after that? Because if that's the question, then certainly if you wait 3 weeks, then it's gonna be a very different
Yeah, no,
situation.
it was like it's a two-part question from Russell, and he's saying, does the alert continue indefinitely? I assume that meant after this opportunity. And how do you terminate the alert if you no longer want to receive it?
Yes, and so one is a history, yeah, and then deleting, exactly like Max showed you.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yes. Yeah, exactly right.
Okay.
I didn't see the second part. Thanks, Max.
All right. All right. Question answered. Thanks for the demo. All right. Well, we have 6 minutes. So if anyone has any other questions, um, we're available. Let me minimize this. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to highlight. Jason, if there's something you want to suggest that we
Yeah,
could
why don't
take
we
a look at.
now that we have a really fast back tester, did you show the canned strategies that we have in the back
Brief,
tester? Just
brief,
briefly, yeah.
briefly, yeah, but I'll,
So
I'll go
that's,
through, I'll go through
yeah.
them.
Well, I think I can just explain the pro scanner slightly, but yeah, now that we have, for platinum users especially, the platinum users are users that made a year-long commitment to the product, and so we're able to, for those users, to give really fast servers and all that kind of stuff. So if you're a platinum user, you can kind of just run your own scans in a sense, because you can just run something against the entire NASDAQ 100 and it only takes a few minutes. But if you're saying, hey, I really like the fade the dip strategy, I've had a bunch of winners in that, what are some other stocks that have done well in that? Then that's where the Pro Scan tab can be really helpful. So maybe if you click on that, I'll just give a quick overview.
You want me to go to ProScan
Yeah, you
or
can just click. I'll just explain the buttons and stuff on the Pro Scan real quick.
okay. All right, hold on.
I told Jeff I would.
No
I just
problem.
texted it to him. Yeah, so these at the top there in the ticker group, you can see which tickers. So again, you can filter on Dow 30, NASDAQ 100, or you can just click all tickers if you want, doesn't matter.
Okay.
And then if you click any of the strategies down on the left, these are all the strategies that we've kind of built into the tool. We've done a lot of back testing on these different strategies to make sure that, like, in general, historically, that they've performed well and that kind of thing. There's a couple strategies in there that just everyone wants, like covered calls or long straddles for earnings, but a lot of the more detailed ones are things that we spend a lot of time testing. But yeah, you can click on anything there.
Okay.
You just click.
Why don't we do let's do a bearish.
Okay, so if you click that with all tickers, yeah, so
Yep.
these are hundreds or thousands of back tests that have been run. So we kind of scan the entire market. We run the back test on every single individual stock. And then you might want to filter on something like win percentage, win rate, anything like that. You can sort this stuff by, so, or total backtest return if you want to see some exciting results. So
Right.
that's from worst best. Yeah, okay. So some insane
Yeah.
returns on a few things. But from that, you can sort and filter through all of these backtest results. And then you might want to say, okay, let's only look at the NASDAQ 100 or the S&P 500. But now you can start to find some stocks that like, hey, this is done well. So you can set alerts from here as well. So this is another way to set alerts. If you click on,
Right.
if
Right.
you
But
filter by the NASDAQ 100, then you can click very similar to what Max did on the backtest tab of the portfolio. These are pre-run backtests that we run every handful of days. So you can say, hey, these look good. These are some trades I want to do. You set an alert. And then when you get an alert, then you're ready to place the trade. So
uh,
it's essentially just a ton of backtests that we ran in ahead of time to speed things up. It doesn't get a lot of focus during a lot of the webinars, which is why, a lot of people, haven't dug in as deep to this, but yeah, that's what this is.
right. But correct me if I'm wrong. These may have been pre-tested, but there's nothing that we can't do on the backtest tab, especially with all the portfolio choices that we have. If not creating our own, then we are doing on the Pro Scanner.
Yes, it's essentially just a time saver. Like if you're trying to do the entire market, then that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
several
noticed.
thousand stocks, 4 or 5,000
Yeah, yeah,
stocks.
yeah, yeah.
So it's just to do it at scale, and it's pre-saved results just to kind of speed that up. If you know there's a strategy you want, then you can kind of do a quick access this way. There's a filter at the top if you want to see what the results are like for the 2-year in the top right corner. You can say like I only want to look at results that were 2-year
Got
back
it.
tests, for instance.
Got it. So we close off the 1 year and the 3 year and just leave the 2 year.
Exactly.
Is that how it goes? Great.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. I did use this. It's coming back to me, but I fell in love with the backtest tab. Um,
But you're absolutely right. And on the backtest tab, what you can't do on the scan tab is you can't say, okay, well, this had a 50% limit. What does it look like with an 80% limit? Like there's no tweaking on this. This is the kind of the pre-can strategies that we've tested. On the backtest tab, like Max is saying, then you can go as deep as you want. You can customize your portfolio, all that kind of stuff. So he's totally right on that.
okay. We have one last question. Um, I see many strategies, click on them, many stocks come up, but do I buy or sell? Not sure. All right. So by the dip, every strategy has a name and it has a meaning. And you have to look at examples that you can easily find on the Today tab, to the Today page, like I showed for Target, to see what the technical conditions are and what the trade is. So the technical conditions were primarily that the stock is now back above the 200 moving average, SMA, and that potentially is bullish. And the option strategy is selling a put spread. So it's a bullish technical condition and it's a bullish option strategy. So that would mean that you want the stock to continue to go up or at least stay where it is and not go down too far. But it's bullish. So you're in it's a bullish trade. But from the name and from examples and from looking at what the specifics of the option trade are, you will be able to determine whether you're buying or selling, being
Hey,
bullish or being bearish, or
could you?
wanting it to stay in a range.
That's great. Could you just click on Netflix there, and we'll show also on the back test where that just that second result there. So
Okay.
like if you got an alert on the Today tab, there is a little description. So everything Max said was accurate. This one, there's a little description at the top of that tile. It says buy 40 delta puts. So that tells you how to put. So one question is like, is it a bullish or bearish strategy? So if you're long puts, then you want the stock to go down. So this one would be a bearish
Bearish.
strategy.
Right.
But yeah, that little description, even if it's a spread, it'll say buy the 40 delta, sell the 30 delta, or whatever the different strategy is. Um, Delta can throw people off at first when trading options. Some people say, well, I just want to buy something that's $1 out of the money or $2 out of the money or something like that. The reason that we use Delta instead is that there's a really big difference if a stock is a $400 stock or if the stock is a $20 stock. So a dollar out of the money for a big index is essentially an at the money stock, and a dollar out of the money for a stock trading at $5 is very out of the money. Delta helps you, it captures all of that information, including how far out in time. So it's a little bit to wrap your head around at first, but you can find the Delta in your brokerage. There's a way to enable Delta for sure on the
Oh,
options
yeah.
montage if it's not already.
It's a
Um,
default, and yeah, I can't imagine it's not a default that it's not a default on any packet, any trading platform today.
yeah, it should be. It should
Yeah.
be. We get a surprising number of questions about that one. There is some stuff in the Learn tab as well about for anyone
Right.
that's new to Delta that, what is
Right.
a Delta that will help explain that.
Right.
It's one of those things to wrap your head around, but it's worth the investment because you'll be a more successful options trader if you understand it.
Especially newer clients of Trade Machine and newer people to option trading. I would definitely, it's right there. Click on the Learn tab, and there's lots of videos and or descriptions of and frequently asked questions that you should check out. I go in there once a week, and you can search for different things as well. If you don't see it by category, you can enter some real specific information, and if there's something there, it'll find it. All right, now we're at 8:03. I don't want to, Jason probably hasn't had dinner yet, so I don't want to keep him. And it's really, really fantastic that you were able to join us this evening. I certainly appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you who hung out for the entire time. Thank you so much. We'll be doing these every week. Most importantly, before we go, I don't want to get in trouble with Ophir. I highly recommend participate in the community. It's a great place to learn, and it's a great place to ask questions. Everybody's very friendly. Everybody tries to help. It's where you want to be. We talk about today's alerts. We talk about different strategies. We talk about different option trades for the same strategy. It's really an impressive place to be. With that, I thank you. And thank you, Jason.
Likewise. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.